All right, let's dive in. Today, we're heading to the English seaside, to the beautiful town of Sidmouth. Now, you look at it and you see elegant promenades, charming cottages, the perfect picture postcard. But what if I told you that this peaceful little resort town was actually built on a foundation of war and funded by the wealth of an empire? Well, today, we're going to peel back the layers and uncover its incredible hidden history.
See, this is way more than just a pretty face. You have to think of it like a historical crossroads. All these powerful global forces. We're talking high fashion, the brutal realities of war, and the enormous reach of the British Empire. They all smashed together right here on this little piece of coast and literally shaped the town we see today.
So, that's the big question, right? How on earth does a humble fishing village turn into a playground for royalty, a strategic hub for military leaders, and a retirement spot for people who made their fortunes in the empire? How do all those threads come together in one place? Let's start finding out.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the side of Sidmouth everyone knows, the image you'd see on a postcard. This is the story of how it became this incredibly elegant Regency resort, the kind of place that made it a household name among the rich and famous of the time.
Now, Sidmouth's rise to fame wasn't an accident. It was like a perfect storm of trends. First, you had this huge sea-bathing craze, where doctors were literally prescribing coastal air for your health. This brought in the elite, and with them came the ultimate influencers, the Duke of Kent and the future Queen Victoria herself. You know, once you get that royal stamp of approval, everything changes. Suddenly there's a building boom. All these gorgeous Georgian and Regency buildings go up, and to top it all off, the town's natural beauty was about to go viral, 19th century style.
You really have to think of this like 19th century Instagram. It's a perfect analogy. Watercolor painting was basically a form of early social media. Artists would paint these stunning, peaceful coastal scenes, and then those images would get passed around among the wealthy. It was a viral marketing campaign that screamed, "This is the place you need to be seen." It made Sidmouth the ultimate aspirational vacation spot.
Okay, but before all the fancy promenades and parasols, Sidmouth had a totally different vibe. So now we peel back that first layer. Underneath that polished, fashionable resort is a much grittier foundation, a history that was all about military strategy and coastal defense. This timeline really shows you how deep that military history goes. I mean, a fort was first built here way back in 1629. For nearly 200 years, it was defending the coast from everyone. Pirates, the French, Napoleon's navy. But look at that final date, 1815. The very same year the Napoleonic Wars ended, the cannons were removed. The timing is just perfect, right? It marks this clean break, this exact moment, when Sidmouth transitions from a place of war to a place of leisure. The town's peaceful reputation was literally built on a very recent battlefield.
And this is so important to get. Even when these high-ranking military officers came to Sidmouth for what looked like a holiday, they were never really off the clock. For them, leisure was basically a part of the job description. A trip to the seaside wasn't just for fun, it was a crucial opportunity to network, to make alliances, and to quietly line up your next big promotion.
So if you've got all these powerful people in town, all mixing business with pleasure, where do they all hang out? They needed a central spot, right? An engine room for this new, high-powered society.
And that engine room was the Marine Library. It opened in 1809, and its arrival was the signal that Sidmouth had officially made it as a top-tier resort. But listen, this was not just a place to borrow a novel. This was the town's central nervous system for news, for gossip, and for social climbing. I mean, just look at everything this one place did. Yeah, it was a library with books, but it was also the reading room where you got the latest London newspapers. It was the social hub, the place you went to see other people and, more importantly, to be seen by them. It even published its own guidebooks to promote the town, and it was a luxury shop on top of all that. The Marine Library was the absolute heart of elite life in Sidmouth, no question.
All right, let's peel back that final, deepest layer. So we've got a fashionable resort. It's full of military leaders and high society, and they're all networking at this amazing library. But where did all the money and influence that powered this whole scene actually come from? Well, the answer is thousands of miles away, in the British Empire.
To really understand this connection to India, we just need to look at two men, two guys who would have been regulars at the Marine Library, General Sir John Floyd and Sir John Kennaway. Together, these two men represent the military and diplomatic power that was swirling around Sidmouth. And their shared history in India, well, that's the key that unlocks this town's deepest secret. Just check this out. On one side, you've got Floyd, a top military guy. On the other, Kenaway, a key diplomat working for the powerful East India Company. But look at how their careers overlap. They both served under the same commander, Marquis Cornwallis. They were active during the very same wars. One was on the battlefield, the other was negotiating treaties. But they were essentially two sides of the same imperial coin, working together, building fortunes, and forging these incredibly powerful bonds.
And right here, this is the absolute core of the story. The enormous fortunes, the fancy titles, the powerful social networks they built while serving the empire in India. They didn't just leave that stuff behind, they brought it all back home with them. They literally packed up all that social and financial capital and transplanted it, planting it right here in the fashionable soil of a quiet seaside town in Devon.
So let's pull all these threads together now. We've peeled back all the layers of Sidmouth, right? We started with the elegant resort everyone sees on the surface. Then we went down to the military fort it was built on, through the social hub that connected everybody, and finally, we hit the bedrock, the imperial wealth that paid for the whole thing.
And what this all shows us is the big takeaway. The history of a small town is never, ever just local. It's like a miniature version of these huge global forces at play. That quiet, peaceful promenade you might walk along today, it carries the echoes of battles that were fought and fortunes that were made half a world away.
Which, leaves us with one final thought. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of the peaceful, picturesque places that we know and love are, just like Sidmouth, actually built on these forgotten foundations, these hidden stories of global ambition.